Hi, it's Drew and Terry Edwards here, and the other day we was on a group call with some of our private clients. Now, typically we work with recruitment search firm owners, and they come to us when they want to know how to increase their profits, attract more clients, and position their firms as leading players in their sector. And one of the questions that we got during this group coaching call was basically was a complaint that someone had a bad client, or what they described as a bad client, and this particular client was someone who was always paying late and someone I didn't really enjoy working with. Now, if you've been, if you're a recruitment or search business owner, you've been in the industry even a short amount of time, you will know that there are good clients and there are bad clients. There are clients that you love working with and clients that you don't like working with. And what sort of constitutes a good or bad client is different for everybody, and what might be a good client for me might be a bad client for you, and vice versa. But there's a belief that it all comes to luck. So something I hear quite often is that when I get a good client, it's because I've been lucky. When I get a bad client, it's just because I've been unlucky. And that really couldn't be further from the truth. And there are 4 reasons why, right? So the first thing you need to realize that any client that you have in your business right now or in the past, any one client, good or bad, you've had to attract them. And when I say attract, I'm talking about the messages you put out, the language you use, where you put those messages. Anything that you do publicly that your prospects can see, it attracts a certain type of person and repels a certain type of person. Does that make sense?
But it makes perfect sense. I think people, there's also a bit of a grey area about this, and they say, well, I'm not conscious of what I'm doing here. Here's an example of attracting a certain type of client. If you say something like, we won't be beaten on price, you're attracting a certain type of client.
Yeah.
If you've got your fees on your website, you're attracting a certain client. The moment you put your fees on your website, you're commoditizing the service that you're offering. So that's an example of the message that you're sending out in terms of who you're going to attract with the message that you're sending out.
Yeah. So the first thing is that you've attracted them. The second thing is you've actually invited them into your business. So when you have a conversation with a prospect, a potential client, at the end of the day, it's you that makes a decision to sell to them. You invite them into your business. So if anyone you're working with or have worked with in the past that wasn't a good client, it's important to remember that it's actually you that, 1, you've attracted them, and 2, you've invited them, you've sold to them, right? You don't have to sell to everybody, even if you have attracted them in the first place.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Normally at this point people say, but I can't afford to turn away business. Well, you need to look at that. You really do need to look at that. The ideal situation, and one of the things that we share with our clients, you should have what we call a lead flow. So you've got more leads you can actually handle. So you decide who you work with rather than the other way around. And there's a little saying that I'm sure you've all heard before, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you've got a meeting with a client and the client turns up 15 minutes late, or we've all been there where you turn up for a meeting and the client says you've got 10 minutes to present whatever you've got to present, and you travelled some distance to have that conversation, that's an indication of how they behave. And if you then invited them into your world, that's your choice. And this is about being aware of that you've invited them in, and you're responsible for, if you're working with that lousy client that doesn't return your calls, doesn't pay the bills, doesn't value or respect what you do, you have to acknowledge that is your choice. And it's not easy, but that's just the way of the world. So attract, invite.
And the third thing is you've allowed them. So when a client that you're working with behaves in a certain way, goes against either what you've agreed to or what you expect from them, you have a choice to allow it or not. You allow that by, again, the way you operate in your business, your terms, whatever you do, whatever happens, you've allowed their behaviour. Again, the same that we often use, people will only treat you how you allow them to treat you. And again, the same goes for your clients. If you've got clients who are continuously treating you badly, and that, again, badly to you might be good to someone else, but typically like paying late or not respecting the value of what you do or constantly trying to lower your fees or whatever it happens to be, you're allowing them to get away with that behaviour, you're allowing them to continue that behaviour. So the third thing is you're allowing them. Anything you want to
Yeah, it just reminds me, we were talking, we won't mention the lady's name, but we were talking to a lady in one of our groups, and she talked about a client who, they agreed the fees, the client made an offer to the candidate accepts the offer, the hiring manager then goes back to our client and says, I know we agreed the fees, but we can't pay that now, we want to reduce our fees. And as she's sharing the story, she said it's the second time this happened. Quite honestly, it happened the first time, that should have been the first and last time that it happened. But what she'd done there, she'd allowed it to happen. So she'd sent him a message at some level, it's okay to do that. And harsh as it may sound, she'd actually brought it on herself by allowing it to happen. So that's the example of what we mean by allowing it to happen.
Yeah. And then the last thing is you tolerate it, right? The same way that you invite clients into your business, you if they step out of line in any way, they behave in a certain way that you don't like, you first you allow it, but then you tolerate it, because you can fire clients. You don't have to serve everybody. You can turn their business away. You can fire them. So if you're working with a client that you don't like working with now, and you're continuously working with them, you're tolerating that behaviour as well. You can fire clients. Now, as Terry said, one of the big complaints that we get about this is that, well, if I turn business away, where's my next client going to come from? If I turn business away, I'm saying goodbye to revenue. And again, it's a way. It's a way that we used to think as well. And the reason that people tend to think like that is because they haven't mastered their marketing. They haven't got enough inbound leads coming in or leads coming in. So they feel like if I say no to one client, or if I turn a client away, I don't know where my next bit of revenue is coming from. If they want to grow the business, which most people do, they feel like it's almost taken a step backwards. Well, the way to get around that is to really nail your marketing, nail your lead generation, so you have more leads coming in than you can actually handle. So you can be picky about who you work with, and you can actually handpick the best clients. You can be picky. You can dictate how you attract people in. You can be picky about who you actually invite, who you sell to. You don't have to allow any behaviour you don't like, and if someone does step out of line, you can get rid of them as a client and bring someone else on as well. Now, if you want to find out more about how you can do that in your recruitment or search business, then click the link beneath this video.